how far back do they check?
Uh, there is no such, so some of you will have heard the term spent conviction, okay? Spent conviction means that for certain roles or certain jobs, you don't have to declare it. There's no such thing as a spent conviction for vetting. Uh, it, it just by way of example, I have worked with a guy in his 60s who committed offences when he was 18 and they had prevented him joining the police. So they will look as far back as you have a criminal history. Nothing is off limits. So if you're 50, you've been arrested for theft when you were 18, that, for example, will become a big problem in vetting. So the while some offences and the impacts of some offences may be mitigated by time, they will not go, ah, well, that was so long ago, we'll just ignore it because it's on the record. It's a matter of fact, it's a matter of record, and it will be looked at, it will be taken into consideration, and it may well impact on your vetting.
Okay, so things, let's sticking with criminality, let's look
Yep.
at families.
Yep.
Um, so I'll give as an example, my uncle, my brother-in-law, my dad's father's cousin was in trouble with the police 20 years ago. Do we need to disclose that? Is it going to affect my vetting?
Uh, so I'm a bit hesitant about giving a particularly definitive answer to a question like that. That would need a longer conversation.
Hmm.
In terms of the generalities, yes, you should disclose it, and yes, it could have an impact on your vetting. However, it's a much more, it would need a more detailed conversation, and it's a much more nuanced answer than I could give here because we there's not the time. It's not appropriate to get into very personal circumstances, which are confidential to the people on the call. So if someone wants to have that conversation with me, they need to book a triage call and we can go through it in some detail. But yes, you have to declare it, and yes, it can affect your vetting.
And
So
again,
just
sorry, go on.
again, just again, sometimes I often get a line from people, well, I haven't seen this person for 5 years, 10 years. I'm afraid it doesn't matter. Again, just I suppose just to let you know how difficult this can be. I've dealt with people who have been estranged from their parents since birth, but because their parents have significant criminality or involved in significant criminality, they have failed vetting. They may never recollect ever seeing their parent, but unfortunately, the reality is they fail vetting on account of it.
And I get like a question, it's probably how long's a piece of string, but when it says close family members, what does that mean? Do you include everybody in your family?
Yeah, I mean, you answer the questions that are on the form, but I would
Hmm.
certainly be including people like grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins. You know what? I think most of us know if we've got a member of our family who we know was locked up for 10 years for, I don't know, armed robbery, and there may be a cousin or a second cousin or whatever, we should declare that because it just gives, well, what it does is it demonstrates the vetting team that you are taking every opportunity to be honest and transparent, and that stands to your favor. So yeah, if in doubt, just declare it. You should never work the other way. If in doubt, don't declare it. If in doubt, put it in the form and let the vetting team work it out from there.
And what about family members who you don't think there's any criminality? How far do you go? So, for example, Eleanor's question. So, your partner's family, birth parents, step parents, their siblings. How far do you go?
Yeah.
Not because you're worried about criminality, but because you're scared of not putting them down.
Well, it's not so much about putting them down, it's about putting them down if they're involved in criminality.
Okay.
So again, in that circumstance, so I'd be saying to my partner, is there anyone in your family who you think is involved in criminality? And if they say yes, find out what you can. But you know what? There's sometimes when you don't know, and there's sometimes when you can't find out. And that's also understood as well. There's a difference between not being aware of something and deliberately trying to hide something. So if you don't know, then that's okay as well. But what you shouldn't be doing is if you know, for example, you've got an uncle who's in prison for burglary, don't go and visit the uncle and ask them about their criminality.